Hello everybody and welcome back to Flight Past, and today we are looking at Mission Albany. Don't ask me why it's called Mission Albany rather than Operation Albany. It is the name given to the 101st Airborne's operation on D-Day. And so we're going to look specifically at what they got up to once they dropped him. But before we do, I just want to just check my microphone. I just wanted to do a bit of maintenance to some of the things I've been saying. Someone reminded me on Discord, which you can join if you wish. The link is in the description, and you can find the notes that we're using today under D-Day. But the person mentioned to me when I was talking about Fort Bragg, how it had it seems to change its name in America depending on who's in the White House. The second time it was renamed Fort Bragg from Fort Liberty. It was actually named after a guy called Roland Leon Bragg, and not the Confederate General Braxton Bragg. So rather conveniently they managed to find a soldier, paratrooper, who won the Silver Star for his gallantry, and he fought with the 513th Parachute Infantry Regiment, and he was involved in the Battle of the Bulge and all that sort of stuff. So it's very convenient that they got a guy called Bragg on that. So that's Fort Bragg. Second one, we were talking about the way that the 101st and 82nd Airborne were transported to the drop zone. And when we were doing our flight, I was guessing that it would involve coming south down to... we assumed they would use one of the Channel Islands. And it turns out that we were correct, that they had some operation going on, and it actually was a buoy that was placed in the sea between Alderney, which is here, and Guernsey, which is here. And this allowed the planes to fix onto the transponder signal. From a little bit of research, it looks like that they did try to fly at about 500 feet as they approached German radar. And they did have their lights off, apart from some formation lights. The stationary marker boat, or buoy, I think it might be a boat, was codenamed Hoboken. And you can... you can see on the scroll below, I've added some details about that. So that carried a Eureka beacon, and then the planes were carrying Rebecca transponder receivers to find their way in. And this meant that from that point they could then change course to a set course, and they were heading for a place called Port Bale, which is where we're going to start this stream today. And this is Port Bale here. So you can see that this uniquely shaped bay here would be easy to pick up as you're flying along. And this Port Bale was nicknamed Mule Shoe. So today what we're going to do, we're going to fly this route in over the Cotentin Peninsula, and we're going to look at what happened on the that the 101st did. We'll be looking at a few of these batteries that they were asked to take out, and then we'll follow Lieutenant Richard Winter's path down to Brécourt Manor, and we'll finish off down here at this lock, which was was to be captured because it was what was controlling the flooding in the area. So let's get on it then. If you like this content, please help me out with a subscription and a like, and it means I can continue to make more. So I thought we'd jump in the Huey today. And let's get it settled, and we'll head in. We're not going to do it in the dark today. We've done all that. You can go back and look at some of the videos of where we try to recreate some of the drops. I did find some information about the serial flights that go in. So let me just try and find that. So this there we go, the 101st Airborne. First of all, the Pathfinders. This is their sequence air movement. So as you can see, Pathfinder 3, the first PROV means provisional. They were in 3 C-47s from North Witham, and they were hitting the drop zone at 12:30. And so you can see there that they're flying in about 3 aircraft each. Dropping in on these drop zones A, C and D. No drop zone B, that was going to be the 501st's designated drop zone, but pretty last minute, around about the 27th of May, they decided that it was too far to the west, and so they cancelled the drop, and the 501st then went in on the on drop zone B. Okay, let's head over. As you can see, the terrain on the Cotentin Peninsula, it's very lacking in distinguishing features. All the villages are pretty much the same size, same sort of churchyard and church. And the fields, as you can see, are these ones typical of this area of Normandy, with which is known as the bocage. Very small fields that have over the centuries have piled up high banks and have a hedge on the top. And of course, this is the thing that Bradley and the 7th Army are going to find pretty difficult in the weeks ahead. So the 101st are coming in on a bunch of serials. This is the Pathfinder's one. Let me change it now to show you the actual serials used by the 101st Airborne. And we're talking probably something in the region of 432 aircraft are used. Each serial contains anything between 36 and 54 C-47s. And all these serial numbers are chalked on the side of the plane so that the paratroopers board the correct one. They're flying in 500 feet. They're in V formation, so there's 3 aircraft in a V, and that V then joins up with 2 other Vs to make 9 aircraft. And the lead aircraft are the ones that contain the Rebecca receivers to pick up the Pathfinder's signal. So the serials are designed, scheduled to come over the drop zones every 6 minutes. And they'll be dropping sticks of paratroopers, a plane load, which is something in depending on their units and stuff. There'll be something between 15 and 18 men per stick. So we've already spoken of in previous episodes that they would have been stood up and hooked on prior to coming across the coast. You don't want to be in one of these C-47s if it gets hit by flak. They don't have self-sealing fuel tanks, so if it does get hit and catches fire, you need to get out. So we know that there are several factors that affect the drop. There was the experience of the Pathfinders. Some of them had been in Sicily and were very experienced. Others hadn't been. So getting the markers working was an issue. Some of the Eureka's didn't work because of the impact or jolt of the jump. And we also know that there's the cloud bank as they came across the peninsula, and that scattered a lot of aircraft. And of course, once they've gone into a cloud bank, they tended to move away from each other, natural tendency. And so they would come out of a cloud bank, and they would lost their leader, who's got the Rebecca receiver signal, and so then they're just looking out like this, but at night, trying to guess. Presumably, they probably had a stopwatch going, and when they want to jump out. There was also ground fog, I believe, covering some of the drop zones. The flooded area of the Douve, and the Modere had created cold water, obviously, that fog or mist would settle over, so that didn't help in identifying the correct drop zones. And of course, flak. Let's not forget that they're being shot at the same time. So that made the C-47s go faster and low. So, first drop zone, which we'll have a look at when we get to Sainte-Mère-Église, which is somewhere over here, is drop zone A. It's the furthest north of the 101st Airborne's drop zones, and they start coming in at 0:48 and between 0:48 and 1:40 in the morning, which was British double summer time. And this is here is this is Sainte-Mère-Église. We'll just have a quick look here. So this, because it is one of the bigger towns on the peninsula, it obviously gets recognized, and then there a lot of lost aircraft can say, right, well, if we drop our plane load around here, the guys will know where they are. And this crossroads you see here was is more than a crossroads. It's a meeting of several roads at this point. Forget the modern bypass, but this was one of the key objectives of the 82nd Airborne on D-Day, to control these crossroads to prevent reinforcements coming down from the north, from Cherbourg, or from the south as well. So we will fly there now, but this is the area over here, which is the designated drop zone A. It's these fields here. So let's get back into the helicopter, and oh, by the way, we'll come back, but that field just down there is where Richard Winters landed. We have mentioned that before. So we're going to now follow the Lieutenant Colonel Steve Chapuis. He was 2nd Battalion, 502nd Paratroop Infantry, and he actually came down on the correct drop zone, and he headed towards the battery at Varreville. Now we're going to try and find that. I have put it on the so we're going to head to Varreville. 1944, the 1261st German artillery regiment came here, it had 422 millimeter had 422 millimeter Russian guns, and it had got pummeled. So this is the field just now on the nose. I don't think there's much evidence anymore of the battery. Let's just jump out. Oh, by the way, there's someone who is alive. If you want to join me, by the way, we're on the MX Rider 137. Nice. Just flew past in an F-18. If you want to join me, you can join me. We're on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and the server is West Europe. But this field here is the battery at, and this is Sainte-Martin de Varreville. This thing gets pummeled by Lancasters on the evening of the 28th and 29th. Let's just see if we can see any damage. Doesn't appear to be anything obvious. It was in, I believe, this field here. And then it was attacked again on the evening of the 5th and 6th, just before these guys arrive. This is an area that was flooded as well, down here. And this was the objective of the 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment, and it basically was protecting this road here. And if you quickly just fly down here with the drone, this is exit 4 from Utah Beach. And so, and you can see here, look how low this land is, and you can see how it just gradually comes up onto this, hardly a rise, but it is one. And this means that this battery in this area here could zone in on that exit. There might even be one here as well. This might even be it, this road. And they could zone in on this exit 8, and it means that anything coming off the beach, then they won't be able to go across these areas because it's sort of flooded. So it was essential for the 101st Airborne to basically secure this this ridge above each of the exits going down to number 1, which is in the south down there. So Chapuis, Lieutenant Colonel, he gets here and with his 2nd Battalion he attacks this area, but it turns out that the site has been abandoned. Later, the 1st Battalion of the 502nd, they arrive here. They're commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Cassidy, and he takes over the village. And so they've now secured their main objective of the day, which is to secure this village. And now they will protect this exit from German counterattacks from the north and the west. This allows the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the 22nd Infantry Regiment of the 4th Infantry Division to come off the beach. And they'll be important because they're going to now head up north here, and we'll just jump into the aircraft and we'll head to Asville. I am just going to just end this part here. Seems like a good place. I'll just update some of the information and we'll be back in a second.